Hey guys, I'm Brittany from Quarter Acre Roots, where we talk about growing a lot on a little bit of space, and today we are doing an updated tour of my Backyard Discovery Willow Greenhouse. We have now had this greenhouse for almost 2 years. I think we might have put it together in like May-ish 2 years ago, and it is currently April. And I have 2 videos on this channel already about this greenhouse. The first one was the setup and showing you guys how I did some initial customizations, and then the second video I filmed a couple months later to show some of the changes that I had made to my initial setup. I get a lot of questions about my greenhouse, so I thought I would do an almost 2-year follow-up video to walk you guys through what I like about the greenhouse and my overall thoughts on just how it's working out for us. First, we're going to start by taking a look at some of the stuff on the outside here. I really had a hard time deciding between a gravel base or a poured concrete patio. Ultimately decided on the poured concrete patio because we don't have a ton of work area space out here, and we don't have a garage or like a workshop or anything like that. So I wanted to have somewhere that I could put container plants like my lovely green stalks right here, have a little potting bench. We have our little retractable hose pole right here. So everything's kind of centrally located in this area, and I love that it is super easy to just kind of sweep off this concrete pad and keep it clean, hose it off. It's just a great neutral basic space to have in the middle of like all of our raised beds and all of our in-ground garden area over here. It's just a really nice home base. That said, the one thing I think I would probably change if I were to start this project over again is the second half of the concrete pad that's inside of the greenhouse. I would probably have some sort of drain poured on that. I generally just come in and clean up like lots of extra dirt with a broom. Sometimes I will come in with our shop vac and vacuum up stuff. But like twice a year, I will usually go in there and just hose everything out really well. And when I do that, it's kind of a pain. If I had it to do over again and they told me it was going to be a ton of extra money, I probably still wouldn't do it. But if it were only going to be like a little bit of extra money, I think that would definitely be worth it. So it's definitely something to keep in mind if you are looking at a poured concrete base for your greenhouse. And then with the little work area out here too, we have room for this super cute little potting bench. The greenhouse does get really, really hot in the summer, even with the shade cloth on top. But I found this little potting bench thing at Aldi of all places, and it was pretty cheap. It's not like the sturdiest thing in the world. And yes, I have a problem where I see things in stores and I say, I could make that. Why would I buy that? I could make that. But honestly, just for the price of the lumber and for the price of like the hooks and all the hardware and everything, I probably would have spent more doing it myself. So I picked this up. I thought it would be a really great size for this space right here. And it is. I love having this out here because if I get too hot working in the greenhouse, I just come right outside. This would also fit really well inside of the greenhouse. So I kind of regret for the price not buying 2. So a nice small potting bench like this would be a really great addition inside of, again, this is the Willow, so a smaller model, but I love having this here on the outside. Okay, now we are headed inside of the greenhouse. This screen is also either a Lidl or an Aldi purchase. I can't remember exactly where I got this screen, but it's just one of those like cheap walkthrough screens. Really helps to keep things cool and keep the majority of the bugs out of here when things start to heat up for the season. If you have ever heard of the greenhouse effect or had a greenhouse or anything like that, you know that greenhouses heat up really, really fast, even when it's really cold outside. So it's nice to be able to crack the door in addition to the ventilation fan and have a little bit more air circulating in here. So here's how I have things set up now. I originally had 4 of these wooden slatted shelves. These are just cheap shelves from IKEA and then some little plastic brackets. I had 4 of these, but then I saw this large wire closet system shelf at our local Habitat for Humanity restore, and I thought that would really maximize my space. I love how it's got like the rod on the bottom so I can hang things from it. All of the water just kind of passes through it. It's coated in rubber, so it's like completely waterproof, and it gives me more storage space in the middle here. So I've really enjoyed having this. I just cleaned out my whole greenhouse for the season, so it looks way tidier than it looked a little bit ago. So usually these are all full, but I've got some stuff hardening off for the season outside, and I just cleaned up a lot of my fall, winter, and early spring messes. So I definitely recommend looking into adding some more shelves and considering something like one of these wire closet shelves. So these L-shaped like workbench height shelves that you see here, these these come with the greenhouse, and there's a lot of different options if you get the bigger versions of this greenhouse, but I think that this is definitely enough workspace for me. I've got all sorts of storage over here, and then right here is the power port. We did end up having power run to the greenhouse so that I could run a heater over the winter, just because you don't want to plug the heater into the power port. You don't want to plug any heater into the power port because things will overheat and that could be a fire hazard. I love being able to plug the heater directly into an outlet and then plug the power port into the outlet as well. And then I just have easy access to the power port to plug in like a cell phone charger or whatever I need out here, like a small fan for seedlings or an extra grow light if I'm working on something out here super early in the season. So that has been super handy to have. The ventilation fan kicks on automatically. This is something I outlined in my first video. You set the temperature that you want the ventilation fan to kick on at. It will probably kick on while I am standing in here because I can feel myself sweating and getting pretty hot. So this kicks on automatically, which is a super handy feature that I have loved having. It gets really hot in here though. So if you've never had a greenhouse before, be prepared for, even with just the ventilation fan, I would highly recommend getting some sort of screen for the door and being able to prop that door open, unless you want that fan just running constantly, which is fine, it can do that, but it has a hard time keeping it too cool if like it's just circulating hot air outside too. So I love having the screen as just another way to help cool things down in here, especially in the middle of the summer when it can be like 130 degrees in here. This is the door side of the greenhouse, and I have one of my wire seed starting shelves that is on wheels out here. I moved this out here about 2 weeks ago when I started moving some more of my seedlings out to the greenhouse from the grow light operation I had going downstairs. So I just decided to move just the shelf out here to help me maximize this sunny space while I am still waiting to harden off some of these plants. I've just started hardening off some of my peppers and tomatoes, and having the rolly bottom on this shelving system is super helpful for just rolling things out. Couldn't really do that on gravel, but super helpful for being able to just roll things out and harden them off right outside of the greenhouse. I also mounted a bunch of hooks up here just to store like random things that I've gotten for the greenhouse. This little hook system up here is not super heavy duty, but I got it at the dollar store. Like, you don't have to spend a lot of money on some of these customizations, and it just helps me keep a lot of the things up off the ground and out of the way. Over here, I also forgot to mention, this is another one of those closet system things that I got at Habitat Restore. It's just like part of a closet organizer that I mounted here using these S hooks, which I can link below as well. These are super handy for hanging stuff from this little ladder hanger. I've got some landscaping things. I've got some other hooks hanging from the hooks. Just anything to like keep stuff out and away from the workspace is great because things get very cluttered very quickly in here. And finally over here, this side by the door, this is just like a little slatted table that I made many years ago using wood from our scrap wood pile at our old house in the garage. I wanted to use up a bunch of scrap wood, so I just made this little table. I did have this inside for a while, but I had actually finished it with exterior paint when I did it. So I thought I can move this out of the greenhouse. This will be like a nice narrow profile thing to add in here to help me maximize the sunniest areas. These IKEA boot trays, again, I won't never shut up about these things. They are cheap. They are super sturdy. They're super easy to keep clean, and they fit a lot of plants on them. So it's a great way to keep your plants organized, to carry them outside, to harden them off, to bottom water them because it has enough of a lip to bottom water here. So I've got some of my Vago seed starting trays still out here. I love these. These are the jumbo. So they give you lots of great space to avoid having to pot up. I'm trying to avoid potting up some of my peppers and tomatoes that I've got out here. We'll see if I can make it. And they have the trays as well, and those are super easy to bottom water. But once I pot things up, I like to use these boot trays just because it just makes things a lot easier. And then of course, you'll never see me being a seedling starting snob. I think this is a tomato container from the thing of Costco tomatoes, I'm pretty sure. And I just had a bunch of loofah seeds that I sprinkled in here to see what would germinate, and everything germinated. So I need to come in here and separate these and pot these up as well. And then I have one last shelf all the way up here. This is where I've been throwing a lot of my winter sowing stuff that I've taken the tops off of. I've got a couple of these pot clips here. This is also one of the first things I did when I set up the greenhouse that I have kept kept because I've really enjoyed having these here. I just use these little pot clips and some regular terracotta pots to just throw my tools. If you're anything like me, you will find yourself like never being able to find your tools. You will set them down anywhere. And even sometimes in the greenhouse, I lose track of things. So if I always put them in these pots, when I'm done with things, I always know where to find them. And one more thing I forgot to mention, this right here is also an oldie find. This is meant for like kitchen plates. So you're supposed to hook it, just like slide it onto a shelf, and then it's supposed to maximize your cabinet space. So I feel like this greenhouse should be like sponsored by Aldi or Lidl. It's the same company, but sponsored by Aldi because I have so many amazing Aldi finds in and around my greenhouse. I feel like I find something every time I go through there. So I store a lot of my gloves here, which is handy. If you don't have an Aldi near you, I'm sure you can find them a lot of places. I would just look for like kitchen cabinet maximizing things, under shelf storage, stuff like that. Now we are going to head back outside of the greenhouse and talk about how the exterior has held up. So these greenhouses do not come finished and sealed. You have to do that yourself. I finished and sealed every single piece using an exterior stain before we assembled it, and I would recommend that course. Now, if you look on the side, this is the roughly south facing side of the greenhouse. You can see that we have some decent wear on this finish. So this is to be expected with something like this horizontal surface here that gets a ton of sun on it all day and gets rain on it and stuff like that. You can just expect things to wear outside in the elements, even if you seal them. Now, Backyard Discovery does want you to seal your greenhouse once a year. Since we didn't put ours up super early in the season that first year, what I ended up doing was not sealing it last year because I didn't want to seal it again when it hadn't been a whole year since I had initially sealed it. When I reseal it this spring, I will only seal the exterior. I will not go in and seal the interior because I have not noticed any wear and tear on the interior because it really is the exterior that is taking the brunt of the elements out here. So I will just come in with like a small roller or a brush and brush over the same sealant that I used to finish this initially and tape off around the windows and whatnot, which is why I recommend doing a super thorough job staining and sealing the pieces before you assemble it, because then you don't have to deal with like taping anything off or anything like that. The back area here also gets a lot of sun, so you can see we have some of that same wear that we don't have on the north and east sides of the greenhouse. Now to the back, we are very happy with how the back of the greenhouse has been turned into more of a functional space. So one of the things that we added right after we put the greenhouse up was a small gutter along the back. We got a black gutter so that it would blend in more seamlessly with the metal roof lining we have up here. And then I hope you can see, I'm not sure, I can't see on the camera right here, but he just screwed the gutter directly into the back of the greenhouse here. So he added a little filter at the top, and then the downspout comes down directly into a rain barrel here. It's just a flat back rain barrel. We love these rain barrels. We have them all over the yard. They're from the brand RTS Home Accents. So he just has these daisy chained together. And although this isn't a super huge surface up here to gather the rain, like you get a pretty good flow when it's a decent rain, and rain barrels can fill up really fast. Highly recommend adding gutters and a rain barrel, especially if you've got a model of the Backyard Discovery greenhouse that has that slanted roof, because I know a lot of them have a pitched roof or like an A-frame style roof. I love the slanted roof because I just really feel like you're maximizing sunlight if you position the greenhouse so that like the sun is just pounding on it all day. Like you're gonna be able to start using that greenhouse a lot earlier than you would if you didn't have it positioned toward the sun. Last year, we also added this compost bin here. This is a free Garden Earth compost bin. It's just the kind that like you can open up the bottom to take out the finished compost. We got this through our county. They give them out for super cheap prices once a year, and we were really happy to snag one from them. It's a great resource. Just this year, I have a video that I've been working on that I have not published yet. We ended up killing off the grass here around the rain barrels and the compost bin because we were just finding that it was challenging to keep this area mowed, just because like you would have to come in around the compost bin, you'd have to come in around the rain barrels. So I edged this out and then put down some paper bags and stuff and mulched. And I did add this butterfly pea vine. So it is an annual vine where we're at here, and it does not produce edible peas, but it produces these really cool blue flowers that you can use to dye things. So I thought that would be a really fun thing to grow for my daughter to play around with too, because if you have kids and you want them interested in gardening, you will do anything to get them interested in gardening. And plus it's just a really beautiful vine. I like how it's an annual vine too. So I added this trellis right back here because the goal is that when this vine grows all the way up this trellis, that it will kind of help to provide some natural shade at the hottest parts of the summer. Now, you don't really think about shading your greenhouse, like you want maximum sun, but again, in the summer, it is nice to have a little bit of that extra shade. So you can see I've got these hooks on all 4 sides of the greenhouse that I hook a shade cloth over. Last year really did a number on my shade cloth. The sun just basically disintegrated it, so I'll have to get another one this year. But with the shade cloth and the ventilation fan and the screen door, and then this year having a little bit of extra shade here in the form of a large vining plant, I'm hoping that that will make the greenhouse a little bit more bearable of a space to work in the middle of the summer. So we'll see how this goes. I'm optimistic that it's going to help a little bit, and even if it doesn't, it's gonna look really pretty. While we were on the outside here, I also wanted to point out the hose hookup. The hose hookup is a really handy feature to have. We actually do not use the hose hookup, but I can see situations where it will be super valuable to have. Last year, we mounted this fence post in concrete and then put up this retractable hose reel. The brand Vego Garden did send me this retractable hose reel to review, and I have to say 1,000 thumbs up. Before I got the retractable hose reel, I actually had a friend who had seen that I had worked with Vego a couple times tell me, you have got to ask them for their retractable hose reel because we have 2 and they are amazing. And so when they reached out to me and said, do you want to review this retractable hose reel? I said, absolutely yes, because I hate when the hose is just all tangled up all over the grounds. But it's right there and the greenhouse is right here. So we didn't feel like we needed to complicate things by literally running the hose farther around the greenhouse. I can just open this door and pull the hose out and just spray down everything in there to water everything at once. But if your greenhouse is farther away from a water source, it's a super handy thing to have, because I gotta tell you, when I'm in the back of the yard and I'm not near the hose, or I have to drag that thing all the way out to the back of the yard, I wish there was some sort of hose hookup out there that I could just turn on. So that will be super handy if you need to have your greenhouse farther away from your water source. And one last thing to point out, if you guys are adding your greenhouse to an existing garden, just kind of think about where you place it and how the pattern of the sun is going to cast shadows. We actually don't have a ton of problems with the greenhouse shading much, but it does shade out over there a little bit. So I tend to have things that maybe would appreciate a little bit of afternoon shade planted in that bed. Right now I have onions in it because I don't really have to worry about it being shaded out too much right now. And the onions are doing well where they're at, but just think through those things before you commit to where you're going to put the greenhouse, how it might shade out space around it. Now, as far as heating the greenhouse goes, it feels weird to be even talking about it right now because it's so hot today. But we decided not to heat the greenhouse last winter because our electrical bills were insane this year. Last year, when I heated the greenhouse in December, January, and February, I think our highest electric bill was $350. And then this year, I did not heat the greenhouse, and our highest electric bill was over $450. So it was just not worth it for us this year. I was experimenting with other ways that I could start things super early inside and then transition them out here, which has worked out really well. So I really didn't end up using my greenhouse for January and February, other than to overwinter perennials and for some random cooler weather stuff and stuff like that. That said, I did start being able to use it in early March, because even when it gets up to 30 some degrees outside, if that sun is out for even part of the day, it's gonna heat up the greenhouse really well. So I did have a lot of success using it super early in March, and then transitioning my seedlings out there in early April when it was still way too cold to have them outside, still not using a heater. And I think that was actually good, because instead of taking my seedlings out from a super sheltered, super stable indoor environment to outdoors to try and harden them off, it can be kind of a shock to them. So the fact that I had them in the unheated greenhouse for a while, I think was nice, because they experienced a lot of temperature fluctuations gradually. It would get warmer during the day and then it would get colder at night, sometimes down to like in the upper 20s. There were a couple nights where I like decided to really push it and see what I could get away with. And I kept like my second string starts out here as kind of a test, and they all did great. Honestly, some of them did a lot better than the ones I had inside. My peppers that I had outside here that whole time did amazing. So that was a really good lesson to me. Maybe next year I will just heat the greenhouse for January and February and then cut the heat and start hardening things off in March. I do have the BioGreen Twin Palma heater, which I think is really great. I recommend getting the thermostat that goes along with it, so that you can have it kick on automatically. I also recommend doing some insulation. Look around your whole build, look for cracks, put like little foam pipings, shove it into those cracks. I got a square of insulation and taped it on top of the exhaust fan out here, so you can see like kind of the tape marks around it from where I duct taped some foam insulation. And then I closed the passive ventilation vent down here at the bottom. And then on the inside and outside, I also put foam squares to help with that insulation there, because even when it is closed, it still is pretty leaky. So you're not gonna get like great heat retention in something that is made of wood and has a ton of windows on them. But I do think that that helped retain some of the heat a lot. I've had a lot of people ask me, if you could go back, would you get a bigger version of the greenhouse? Would you get one of the bigger models that was out? I think when I got this one, the Zali was the only one that was similarly structured to this one. It's basically the same layout, same roof style and everything, but a little bit bigger. And ultimately I decided on the Willow just because, like, look at our backyard. This is our whole backyard. I didn't want it to be too imposing. I wanted it to be functional for us, and I wanted it to look really cute here in the middle of our gardening area, but I didn't want to sacrifice too much space. Now, if I could go bigger, I think what I would do is I would change our strategy completely, and I would do a greenhouse that's like more of a tunnel, less of like a hobby greenhouse like this. If I did something bigger, I would keep it open to the bare ground so I could grow in the ground. So something like a high tunnel. But for this size and for what we're using it for, I am extremely happy with this greenhouse. I have always dreamed of having a greenhouse, and this has just been really a game changer for our ability to start plants a little bit earlier, to work on propagations, to overwinter things that are a little bit more sensitive in our area. I would definitely recommend the Backyard Discovery Greenhouse to anyone. And again, you guys, I bought this with my own money. I have no affiliation with Backyard Discovery whatsoever. I have been offered to work with other brands for greenhouses before that just didn't seem like a great fit. I really wanted something that was going to be a good investment for us. And so we just ended up deciding on this one and buying it and building it ourselves, and we're extremely happy with it. I hope you guys found this video helpful on how our Backyard Discovery Willow Greenhouse is holding up 2 years in. If you are looking to talk to more people about their different models of greenhouses, I found I think it's an unofficial Backyard Discovery group on Facebook. If you search Backyard Discovery Greenhouse Owners, you'll probably find it. I had posted in there asking some questions. I'm still in the group because I like seeing the different things people are doing with their greenhouses, how people are using them, the different customizations that are on there, like the slatted shelves from IKEA that I have in my greenhouse. That tip came from that Backyard Discovery Greenhouse growers Facebook group. So Facebook sucks. I hate it. I try to stay off of it, but there are some really good groups on Facebook that make it really hard to give it up completely. So check that out. In the meantime, if you guys have any more questions about our cute little willow greenhouse, let me know in the comments. Otherwise, until my next video, happy planting.